Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Elena, your host and guide for today's lesson. If you are new here, let me quickly tell you. We share powerful English learning videos to help you improve your skills faster, step by step, and with plenty of real practice. In today's Advanced English Fluency Masterclass, you are going to do something truly powerful. You are going to learn and master 600 power words and expressions that will take your English from basic to brilliant. These words will not only grow your vocabulary, but they will systematically build your confidence to speak naturally, accurately, and fluently. We will move through every area of effective communication, from describing actions and feelings to navigating professional environments, travel, technology, and complex social interactions. I will guide you with real examples and specific practice exercises for every single step along the way. By the end of this video, you will have practiced and absorbed hundreds of advanced words that will take you much closer to a native-like level, and you will be able to use them in real conversations with complete ease. Before we begin this journey, make sure you subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss more English learning masterclasses like this one. Now, take a deep breath, get ready, and let's get started on this vocabulary journey together. When we talk about building advanced English fluency, it is not just about learning complicated grammar. It is about mastering the precise words that bring your stories and opinions to life. The words that help you express exactly what you mean, whether you are happy, frustrated, ambitious, or simply describing your day. So today, we are going to start by focusing on powerful descriptive words and essential vocabulary that makes your communication feel sophisticated and natural in English. Let's begin where many conversations start, describing people and personality. Instead of just saying someone is good or bad, we can use precise words. Words like generous, reliable, ambitious, sensitive, honest, and creative. These are powerful words. If you can describe a person's character accurately in English, you are immediately building advanced fluency. Try this with me. Imagine you are describing a friend. You say, "My colleague is very reliable and always finishes his work on time." Notice how much stronger that sounds than just saying, "he is good." Now, let's practice. It is important to say these out loud. Repeat after me slowly. She is very ambitious and wants to get a promotion. He is a generous person who loves to help others. My friend is creative and paints beautiful pictures. These sentences train your brain to use descriptive words automatically. Don't just stick to simple adjectives. Always practice using specific, powerful words. That is how real fluency grows. From describing people, let's move to describing actions in detail. In daily life, we don't just do things, we perform specific actions. Words like stare, whisper, shout, wander, embrace, and argue. For example, you can say, "I didn't just look at the painting, I stared at it for a long time." Or, "The students whispered in the library so they wouldn't disturb anyone." Each of these sentences feels vivid because they describe actions with clarity. Let's practice together now. Repeat after me. She shouted for help when she saw the accident. He wandered through the streets of the old city. They embraced warmly when they met at the airport. Each sentence is descriptive, but when you say it aloud, you are teaching your tongue and your brain to work together in English. Now, let's move to another vital area, the workplace and professional success. You might think about words like salary, promotion, deadline, negotiate, collaborate, and resign. Imagine this. She finally got the promotion she deserved after working hard all year. Or, The team had to collaborate to finish the project before the deadline. These are real, professional sentences that prepare you for business conversations. Practice with me. Say, I want to negotiate my salary next month. Say, our manager decided to resign and start a new company. Say, we need to collaborate with the other department. By speaking these sentences, you are practicing the professional rhythm of English. Now, let's expand into the area of business tools and technology. When you work in an office, you use words like software, hardware, spreadsheet, device, database, and server. You could say, I updated the software on my device. Or, we keep all our customer information in a secure database. These everyday details make your English sound modern and professional. Practice with me slowly. I created a spreadsheet to track the expenses. The server was down for a few hours this morning. I connected my new device to the wireless network. Excellent. Each sentence gives you confidence to describe your professional world in English. Another important area of advanced life is travel and exploration. Travel gives us words like destination, itinerary, accommodation, scenery, excursion, and cultural. Imagine saying, our destination was a small island with beautiful scenery. Or, we planned our itinerary to include 3 different cities. These words are not complicated, but using them makes you sound like an experienced traveler. Let's practice a few sentences together. Repeat after me. The hotel accommodation was luxurious and comfortable. We went on an excursion to the mountains. I love learning about cultural differences when I travel. Excellent. Travel also involves movement and transport. Words like depart, arrive, delay, passenger, ticket, and commute. For example, the train was delayed by 1 hour. Repeat after me. My flight departs in the early morning. The bus was full of passengers during the commute. I arrived at the airport 2 hours early. Notice how these sentences connect to real-life travel experiences. That is what advanced fluency means, using the right word for the right situation. Now, let's pause for a small reflection and a quick challenge. Every time you learn a new descriptive word, don't only think about its meaning. Think about the opposite meaning and how to use it in a full sentence. Here is your challenge. In the comments below, write 1 sentence describing a personality trait of someone you know, and 1 sentence describing an action you did today. For example, my brother is very ambitious, and I stared at the rain for 10 minutes. I can't wait to see your sentences. This is how you will reach the advanced level. When we think about vocabulary for food and dining, we must include words that go beyond just food and drink. Whether you are cooking or eating at a restaurant, there are common English words that appear again and again. Words like ingredient, recipe, delicious, flavor, beverage, appetizer, and dessert. These are not just technical terms, they are words that describe the joy of eating. Let's practice with some sentences. Repeat after me. I followed the recipe to cook the dinner. This soup has a very spicy flavor. We ordered a delicious dessert after the main course. Notice how each sentence feels close to real life. That is what makes the practice so effective. Now imagine a conversation at a restaurant. One person says, "What would you recommend?" The other replies, "The appetizer is fresh, and the main dish has a rich flavor." Or, "Would you like a beverage?" These small but important exchanges are the building blocks of advanced fluency. Food also brings words about texture and taste. Words like crispy, salty, sweet, sour, bitter and bland. You could say, the toast was crispy and warm, or the coffee was too bitter for me. Simple sentences, but extremely useful in everyday situations. Practice with me slowly. I prefer sweet tea over unsweetened. The chips were salty and crunchy. The sauce was a bit bland, so I added salt. Speaking these aloud is like exercising your muscles. The more you do it, the stronger your English becomes. Now, let's step into another daily environment, health and wellness. Even if you are feeling great, health vocabulary is part of everyday English because it appears in news, conversations, and life advice. Words like fitness, nutrition, diet, therapy, symptoms, recovery, and prevention. For example, good nutrition is essential for high energy, or she is in therapy to help with her stress. Practice these sentences now. Regular exercise improves your fitness. The symptoms of the flu include fever and cough. He focused on his recovery after the sports injury. Each time you speak a sentence, you are preparing yourself to use these words naturally in conversation. Think about an everyday exchange at a gym or clinic. A person might say, "How is your diet going?" Another replies, "I am eating more protein." Or, "What are the symptoms?" These short questions and answers are real English. Practicing them makes you more confident. Daily life also includes mental health. Words like stress, anxiety, relaxed, mindful, meditation, and balance appear often. For example, I practice meditation to feel relaxed, or it is important to maintain a work-life balance. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I feel stressed when I have a lot of work. Yoga helps me feel mindful and calm. She takes a walk to reduce her anxiety. Notice how natural and helpful these sentences feel. They reflect the rhythm of modern communication. Now, let's move to education and learning. This is vital for anyone who wants to improve their mind. Words like knowledge, acquire, skill, degree, scholarship, tuition, and research are vital for communication. For example, I want to acquire a new language, or she received a scholarship to study at university. These are essential for both students and lifelong learners. Practice aloud. Now, I did a lot of research for my project. He is studying for his degree in business. The tuition for the course is expensive. Excellent. You are training yourself to express intellectual topics in English. Education vocabulary can also connect to habits. Words like study, memorize, review, exam, pass, and fail. You might say, I need to review my notes before the exam, or she managed to pass the test with a high score. These are natural ways to talk about your learning journey. Repeat after me. It is hard to memorize so many words. I hope to pass the driving test. We will review the lesson in the next class. Practicing these not only teaches vocabulary, but also helps you think about your growth in English. Now, let's expand to shopping and consumer habits, which you need whenever you buy things. Words like discount, bargain, refund, warranty, afford, expensive, and cheap. Imagine saying, I bought these shoes at a bargain price, or the laptop comes with a 1-year warranty. Practice now. I cannot afford to buy a luxury car right now. I asked for a refund because the product was broken. The store offers a 50% discount on all items. These are real, useful sentences for anyone who buys things, whether online or in stores. Shopping also gives us conversations like, do you have a warranty for this? Or, is this item on sale? Or, can I get a refund if I don't like it? Practicing these aloud helps you feel confident in real-life shopping situations. So far, you can see how different areas of life, personality, work, travel, food, health, and education, all bring essential English words into your fluency. Each one builds your confidence step by step. You are doing fantastic work. And remember, we are on a journey to reach 600 power words together in this masterclass. Each word, each sentence, each practice example is moving you closer to advanced fluency. Another essential part of everyday life is feelings and emotions. Emotion vocabulary is everywhere in daily conversations. Learning and practicing it will help you sound natural and empathetic. Common words include excited, frustrated, delighted, disappointed, anxious, curious, and grateful. Imagine saying, "I was delighted to hear the good news," or "I felt frustrated when the train was late." These are simple, but they give you strong fluency because you use them to express your inner world. Now, let's practice together. Repeat after me slowly. I am grateful for my family's support. She was curious about the new movie. He felt disappointed when he lost the game. Speaking these sentences aloud allows your tongue and brain to connect, which makes fluency smoother and faster. Think about small conversations about feelings. You might say, "How do you feel about the results?" Or, "I'm anxious about the presentation tomorrow." Then later, "I was excited to see my friend." These short but common exchanges are the core of everyday English practice. Emotion vocabulary can also connect to reactions. For example, "I laughed loudly at the joke," or "She cried during the sad movie." Notice how words about feelings often describe physical reactions. Let's practice again. I smiled when I saw the surprise. He blushed when everyone looked at him. She frowned when she heard the bad news. Keep repeating slowly and clearly, because repetition creates fluency. Another area of daily life is weather and nature. Words like forecast, temperature, humidity, storm, breeze, sunshine, and forecast all describe the environment. For example, the forecast says it will rain today, or the humidity is very high in summer. These words make conversations about the weather much more interesting. Practice with me now. Repeat aloud. The breeze felt cool on my face. We had a heavy storm last night. The temperature dropped below freezing in the evening. You can also imagine a conversation like this. One person says, "What's the weather like?" And another replies, "It's sunny with a nice breeze." These exchanges help you express yourself in a natural way. Let's now move into the area of city life and infrastructure. Words we use to describe where we live. Words like traffic, congestion, sidewalk, skyscraper, suburb, neighborhood, and pollution. For example, the skyscrapers in the city center are amazing. Or, I prefer living in the suburbs because it is quieter. These are descriptions we talk about all the time. Practice aloud. The traffic congestion was terrible this morning. We walked along the sidewalk near the river. My neighborhood is very safe and friendly. Each sentence helps you describe your environment in English more clearly and naturally. Think about a real-life conversation. Someone asks, "Do you like living in the city?" You can answer, "Yes, but I don't like the pollution." Or, "The skyscrapers are beautiful to look at." These answers sound natural and fluent, and they are easy to practice every day. Now, let's expand into the world of technology and social media. Technology is one of the most common topics in modern talk, so these words are very important. Words like internet, connection, profile, post, comment, share, and follow. You could say, I posted a new photo on my profile, or the internet connection is very slow today. These words help you connect with the digital world. Practice with me. Repeat slowly. I shared the video with my friends. She left a comment on my picture. He has many followers on social media. These are easy to say, but they make your English sound modern and fluent. A common exchange in English is, "Did you see my post?" The reply might be, "Yes, I liked it and shared it." Or, "My connection is bad." Practicing these small exchanges will make your everyday conversation smoother. Now, let's practice combining vocabulary from different areas to build longer sentences. This is a very important skill. For example, although the traffic was bad, I arrived on time because I left early. Or, she felt anxious about the presentation, but she was delighted when it was over. Or, we ate a delicious dinner at a restaurant, even though the menu was expensive. Notice how we take words from traffic, food, and emotions, and we connect them into complete sentences. This is exactly how fluency works, combining vocabulary into real communication. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I was grateful for the breeze because the temperature was very high. He did research on the internet to fix his device. We collaborated on the project despite the tight deadline. Each time you practice, your English becomes smoother and faster. Remember, fluency is not about learning difficult, rare words. It is about using the most common, powerful words in natural ways. When you can do that, you will sound advanced, confident, and fluent. Daily life also includes housing and describing where we live, the words and expressions we use to talk about our homes. These words are important because they describe our personal space. Some of the most useful are apartment, balcony, rent, neighbor, utilities, garage, and basement. You may think these are simple, but fluency grows strongest when you master the details of daily life. Imagine a conversation. You talk to a friend and say, "I am looking for a new apartment with a balcony." The friend replies, "Is the rent expensive?" After you move, you say, "I love my new neighborhood." This short exchange is a perfect example of how housing vocabulary carries powerful communication in real life. Practice aloud with me. Repeat. I park my car in the garage. The basement is full of old boxes. My neighbor is very quiet and polite. These sentences sound simple, but they are essential for fluency because you will use them when talking about your life. Let's now look at entertainment vocabulary, because entertainment words guide all of our free time conversations. Words like concert, movie, theater, actor, plot, soundtrack, and ticket. Imagine saying, "I bought tickets for the concert next week," or "The plot of the movie was very confusing." These expressions make your English sound interesting and clear. Practice with me slowly. I love listening to the soundtrack of my favorite film. The actor played the role very well. We went to the theater to see a play. By practicing entertainment words in sentences, you make it easier to tell stories about your weekend in English. Now, think about relationships and social interactions. Another important area of everyday English. Words like argument, compromise, trust, loyalty, support, and marry. Imagine you are talking about a friend. They had an argument, but now they are friends again. Someone replies, "It is important to compromise sometimes." These small but useful words are necessary when talking about people. Practice aloud now. Trust is the most important thing in a relationship. She supported me when I had a problem. They decided to marry after dating for 2 years. These sentences give you confidence when talking about personal topics in English. Think about real conversations. One person says, "Why are they fighting?" Another replies, "They had an argument about money." Practicing these short exchanges prepares you for real social situations where clear English is most important. Another daily life area is problems and solutions, because problem words appear in so many situations. Words like issue, challenge, solve, solution, difficult, complicated, and easy. For example, the problem was complicated, but we found a solution. Let's practice now. Repeat slowly. I faced a challenge at work today. It is difficult to solve this issue alone. The solution was easier than I thought. These are natural sentences that make everyday problem talk easy in English. Problem vocabulary also connects to conversations like, "What's wrong?" or "How can we fix this?" or "Do you have a solution?" These questions and answers are practical and simple, but also very powerful for real-world fluency. Now let's step into feelings of achievement and success. The words we use to describe when we reach our goals. Words like achieve, succeed, goal, target, progress, improvement, and fail. For example, I worked hard to achieve my goal, or she made a lot of progress in English this month. Practice with me now. I want to succeed in my career. We reached our sales target early. I can see an improvement in my writing. These habit sentences are powerful because the more you connect English to your goals, the stronger your fluency becomes. Now, let's combine areas together. Imagine saying, "I faced a difficult challenge at work, but I collaborated with my team, found a solution, and we managed to succeed." This long sentence connects problem words, work words, and success words all together. That is exactly how advanced fluency feels, joining simple vocabulary into longer, natural speech. Practice aloud now. Repeat after me. I argued with my friend, but we compromised and found a solution. Again. I achieved my goal of saving money, so I bought a ticket to the concert. One more. The plot of the movie was complicated, but the soundtrack was beautiful. Each sentence is full of common vocabulary, but when you say it aloud, it sounds fluent and advanced. Remember, building fluency is like building a house. You start with simple bricks, words like goal, problem, support, trust, and progress. But when you combine the bricks together with practice sentences, you build walls, doors, and a strong structure. Your fluency becomes the house where you can live comfortably in English. Another important area of everyday English is hobbies and leisure activities. Words like collection, gardening, photography, painting, chess, club, and hobby. These words are part of daily routines for many people. And if you can use them naturally, your English becomes immediately more interesting. Imagine a short situation. You are talking to a new friend and they ask, "What is your hobby?" You answer, "I love photography and taking pictures of nature." Or, "I collect stamps from different countries." These quick answers feel simple, but they are the foundation of advanced fluency. Now, let's practice together. Repeat after me. I spend my weekends gardening in my backyard. She joined a photography club to improve her skills. We played a game of chess yesterday evening. Excellent. Each sentence is training your mouth to produce English smoothly. Let's expand into daily news and current events, the small but frequent things we read or hear about every week. Words like headline, journalist, report, breaking news, politics, election, and vote. For example, I read the headline in the newspaper this morning, or the journalist wrote a detailed report about the election, or we watched the breaking news on TV. Practice aloud now. Who did you vote for in the last election? The report about the economy was interesting. Politics is a complicated topic to discuss. These are extremely practical because they describe the information you consume every day in life. Daily life also involves fashion and style. Words like trendy, fashionable, outfit, jewelry, accessory, brand, and designer. For example, she wore a very fashionable outfit to the party. Or, I like wearing simple jewelry as an accessory. Practice with me. Repeat. That brand is very expensive. He always looks trendy in his clothes. She bought a designer bag for the wedding. These sentences reflect the reality of modern life. English is everywhere in fashion, and using these words helps you keep up with conversations. Now, let's explore feelings about time and patience. Family words are often used in introductions, stories, and personal conversations. Words like patient, impatient, punctual, late, early, schedule, and deadline. You could say, "Please be patient with me," or "The train schedule has changed," or "I am usually punctual for meetings." Practice aloud now. Don't be impatient. We will arrive soon. He is always late for everything. I checked my schedule for next week. These sentences help you describe time management naturally in English conversations. Now think about directions and locations. Words like navigate, route, map, GPS, destination, north, south, east, and west. Imagine saying, "I used the GPS to navigate to the destination," or "We took a different route to avoid traffic." Practice with me slowly. The map shows the route to the beach. Which direction is north? We got lost because the GPS signal was weak. Each sentence feels natural, and practicing them makes your English ready for everyday use. Let's move into the market and customer service. Words like complaint, refund, exchange, product, quality, satisfaction, and guarantee. Imagine saying, I made a complaint about the bad service, or they offer a money-back guarantee. Practice aloud. The quality of this product is excellent. I asked for an exchange because the size was wrong. Customer satisfaction is very important for the company. These sentences prepare you for shopping conversations, which are part of everyday city life. Now, let's combine all these areas, hobbies, news, fashion, and time, into longer practice sentences. This is excellent for building fluency. For example, after reading the news in the morning, I went to my gardening hobby, and later I dressed in a fashionable outfit to meet my friends. This sentence combines reading, leisure, and style vocabulary in one natural flow. Practice with me slowly. I was impatient because the train was late, so I checked my GPS to find a new route. Another, she made a complaint about the product, but the company gave her a refund because of the guarantee. Another, I read a report about a famous designer who started as a journalist and now owns a big brand. Each of these practice sentences takes simple vocabulary and builds it into advanced fluency. Remember, fluency means confidence, and confidence comes from practice. Every word you repeat, every sentence you say aloud, every moment you imagine yourself in a real-life situation, all of this adds up. You are not just memorizing words, you are creating the ability to think, speak, and live in English. Let's now explore vocabulary for the environment in more detail. You already know words like weather and nature, but let's go deeper into the planet. Words like climate change, global warming, pollution, recycle, plastic, nature, and environment. Imagine describing the planet to someone in English. You could say, we need to recycle more plastic to help the environment, or global warming is changing the climate. Practice aloud with me. I try to avoid using single-use plastic. Nature is beautiful and we must protect it. Pollution is a big problem in big cities. Notice how these sentences are short but very real. They describe things we read and hear about every day. Now, imagine a longer description. Scientists wrote a report about climate change, saying that if we don't reduce pollution, the environment will suffer greatly. This single sentence connects many words into one smooth story. That is advanced fluency. Not just knowing words, but weaving them into natural speech. Let's practice together. Repeat. We should plant more trees to improve air quality. Global warming is causing the ice to melt. I separate my trash to recycle paper and glass. Each time you practice, your brain builds stronger connections for these words. Now, let's talk about verbs of change, because it is part of personal growth, too. Words like improve, develop, increase, decrease, expand, and reduce. You might say, I want to improve my English skills, or the company plans to expand its business, or we need to reduce our spending. Practice aloud now. My vocabulary is increasing every day. She developed a new strategy for the team. The noise decreased after the party ended. Change words are not just for business. They also appear in study, health, and life conversations. Now, let's shift to opinions and argumentation again, but with more advanced everyday vocabulary. Words like agree, disagree, opinion, perspective, point of view, believe, and suppose. For example, in my opinion, this is the best solution. Or, I respect your perspective even if I disagree. Practice with me. I believe that practice makes perfect. From my point of view, the movie was boring. I suppose you are right about that. Opinions give depth to your speech, and they help you connect to others more personally in English. Now imagine conversations. Someone says, "What do you think about this?" You could reply, "I agree with you completely," or "I have a different opinion." These simple exchanges become powerful when you use opinion vocabulary fluently. Let's expand into another daily life area: feelings about the future. You already practiced words like hope and plan, but let's add more specific future vocabulary. Words like ambition, goal, dream, career, retire, save, and invest. For example, my dream is to travel the world, or she has a lot of ambition in her career. Practice aloud now. I want to invest money for my retirement. He is saving to buy a new house. Her career goal is to become a manager. These are words you will use often when talking about life plans, so practicing them is essential. Now, let's try longer sentences. I have a dream of starting my own business, so I need to save money, work hard on my career, and invest wisely to make it happen. This long practice sentence connects future, money, and work vocabulary all at once. Practice with me again. My ambition is to write a book. She plans to retire early and travel. We need to discuss our financial goals. Excellent. Each sentence you practice is one more step toward advanced fluency. Now, let's go outside again to city infrastructure. Words like library, museum, gallery, statue, monument, fountain, and square. You could say, "We visited the museum to see the ancient statue," or "They met at the fountain in the town square." Practice aloud. The art gallery had a beautiful exhibition. The monument was built in honor of the soldiers. We sat on the bench near the fountain. These public place words are used every day in conversations about tourism and culture. Now, think about connecting them into stories. For example, yesterday I walked through the square, saw a statue of a famous writer, and then visited the museum to learn more about history. This single sentence joins culture and travel words and creates a natural English story. Practice with me now. The library is a quiet place to study. I took a photo of the monument. The water in the fountain was very clear. Practicing these out loud gives you confidence to describe your city clearly in English. Remember, every word is like a small tool, but when you put the tools together, you can build something powerful. In English, that something is your fluency, the ability to express any part of your life, any story, any experience with ease. Let's now move into the world of communication tools. At work or home, you often need to talk about how we connect. Words like email, message, chat, video call, conference, attachment, and file. For example, I sent the file by email, or we had a video conference with the team, or can you send me the message again? These sentences show how practical technology vocabulary is. Practice with me. Repeat aloud. I forwarded the email to my boss. The attachment was too large to send. We chatted online for an hour. These sentences give you confidence when speaking about modern communication in English. Now imagine real conversations at work. Someone says, "Did you get my message?" You answer, "Yes, I just read it." Or, "Can you join the video call?" The reply might be, "Yes, I am sending the link right now." These everyday exchanges are part of professional fluency. Let's expand into feelings about daily obligations. Words like must, have to, need to, should, supposed to, required, and necessary. You could say, "I must finish this report today," or "It is necessary to wear a uniform," or "I am supposed to be there at 9 a.m." Practice aloud now. You should eat more vegetables. It is required to sign the document. We need to leave early to catch the train. These words are not just for rules, they also appear in advice and daily planning. Now, let's turn to another important part of life: household problems. Beyond cleaning, there are things that break. Words like leak, clog, repair, fix, broken, damage, and replace. You could say, "The sink is leaking," or "I need to fix the broken window," or "We had to replace the old battery." Practice aloud now. The toilet is clogged again. He repaired the damage to the car. The remote control is broken. These words are not just for the home. They also appear in conversations about cars, electronics, and maintenance. Now, let's practice combining areas again. For example, I had a household problem with a leak, so I called a repairman, but I had to wait because he was in a meeting. Another, I sent an email to my boss saying I need to leave early because of a necessary appointment. Another, I felt frustrated because the internet connection was required for my video call, but it was too slow. Practice aloud, slowly. I was supposed to go to the museum, but I had to stay home to fix the leak. She required a signature for the package delivery. We must invest in a new computer because the old one is damaged. Each sentence is long but natural, and repeating them helps you join vocabulary into fluent English speech. Remember, practice is not about speed, it is about rhythm. Speak slowly, clearly, and with confidence. When you repeat sentences like these, you are not only learning words, you are training yourself to think in English naturally. Let's now look at connecting words in detail, words that join ideas. Words like because, although, however, therefore, so, and but. These are words you hear all the time, especially when explaining reasons. For example, I stayed home because it was raining. She is tired. However, she keeps working. We were late, so we took a taxi. Practice with me slowly. I studied hard. Therefore, I passed the exam. Although it was cold, we went for a walk. He is rich, but he is not happy. These sentences teach you not just words, but the logic of English conversation. Now imagine a real dialogue. One person says, "Why are you sad?" The other replies, "Because I lost my wallet." Or, "I like the car, however, it is too expensive." Practicing small conversations like this makes you ready for real-life fluency. Let's move to another area of daily life: sounds and noises. Words like loud, quiet, noisy, whisper, scream, bang, and volume. You might say, the music was too loud, or the library is very quiet, or I heard a loud bang outside. Practice aloud now. Please lower the volume of the TV. The baby is sleeping, so please whisper. The street was noisy with traffic. Each sentence connects English words to real experiences you may have daily. Think about a real conversation on this topic. One person says, "Can you hear that sound?" The reply, "Yes, it is very loud." Or, "Is it quiet in here?" The reply, "Yes, I can hear a pin drop." These natural exchanges show how practical vocabulary becomes part of smooth communication. Now, let's talk about textures and touch again, but in action with materials. Words like soft, hard, rough, smooth, sharp, and heavy. For example, the fabric is very soft. He cut his finger on a sharp knife. The box was too heavy to lift. Practice aloud with me. The wall feels rough. The table surface is smooth. She carried a heavy bag. These action words give detail to your English, making your descriptions come alive. Now let's explore colors and design again, focusing on art and appearance. Words like bright, dark, light, pale, colorful, and shade. You might say, "She wore a bright red dress," or "The room was painted in a light shade of blue," or "The sunset was colorful." Practice aloud now. The sky was dark and cloudy. He looks very pale today. The artist used bright colors in his painting. Clothing and appearance vocabulary is very common because people often talk about what they see. Think about a small conversation. One person asks, "What color is your car?" The other answers, "It is a dark shade of green." Or, "Do you like this painting?" The reply, "Yes, it is very colorful." Simple conversations like these are part of everyday fluency. Now, let's expand to feelings connected with appearance. I felt confident in my bright outfit. She looked pale because she was sick. Adding observations to feelings makes your English sound richer and more advanced. Let's now practice combining areas again. For example, I heard a loud bang, although the street was usually quiet. Another, the fabric was soft. However, the color was too dark for me. Another, we needed to lower the volume because the music was too loud for the baby. These longer sentences mix senses, contrast, and descriptions, just like real life. Practice aloud, slowly. The surface was rough, so I used sandpaper to make it smooth. The room was dark, so I turned on a bright light. She whispered because the library was quiet, but she still wanted to share the news. Each sentence is long but natural, and repeating them helps you join vocabulary into fluent speech. Remember, advanced fluency is not only knowing words, but being able to connect them smoothly into stories, experiences, and logic. When you practice like this, you move step by step toward thinking directly in English. Let's now move into vocabulary for abstract concepts. We often talk about things we cannot see. Ideas like freedom, justice, peace, war, power, and history. For example, we all want freedom and peace. Or, history teaches us about the past. Practice with me. The war caused a lot of suffering. Justice is important for a fair society. Knowledge is power. These are sentences you can easily imagine in speeches or serious conversations, which makes them powerful for practice. Now, let's talk about money and banks in more detail. Words like account, withdraw, deposit, loan, credit, debt, and interest. You could say, I opened a new bank account, or I need to pay off my debt, or the bank gave me a loan for the house. Practice aloud now. I want to deposit this check. The interest rate is very low. I used my credit card to pay for the dinner. These simple banking sentences are very useful because money is a central part of life. Now imagine a small conversation. One person asks, "Do you have any cash?" The other replies, "No, I need to withdraw money from the ATM." Another person could ask, "Are you in debt?" And you might reply, "No, I pay my bills on time." Practicing these short exchanges gives you confidence. Let's now explore food again, but this time focusing on the process of cooking. Words like chop, stir, boil, bake, fry, roast, and grill. For example, I need to chop the onions. Or, she stirred the soup with a spoon. Or, we will grill the meat outside. Practice aloud now. Don't let the milk boil over. I baked a cake for his birthday. He fried the eggs in a pan. These sentences reflect common habits and practical cooking conversations. Now, let's go to feelings about capacity and ability. Words like can, could, able, allowed, possible, impossible, and capable. You could say, I can swim very fast. Or, is it possible to finish this today? Or, she is capable of doing the job. Practice aloud. I was able to fix the computer. It is impossible to predict the weather. You are not allowed to park here. These sentences prepare you for conversations about what you can or cannot do. Now, let's talk about communication with the media. Words like newspaper, magazine, article, journalist, headline, and publisher. For example, I read an interesting article in the newspaper. Or, the headline caught my attention. Practice aloud now. She works as a journalist for a famous magazine. The publisher decided to print more copies. I read the news online every morning. These sentences are part of daily information consumption and appear often in daily conversations. Imagine small conversations around this. One person says, "Did you see the headline?" The reply, "Yes, it was shocking." Or, "Which magazine do you like?" The reply, "I like the one about fashion." These small exchanges bring practice closer to reality. Now, let's turn to travel again, but this time focusing on the airport. Words like passport, boarding pass, luggage, customs, security, gate, and departure. For example, I showed my passport at security, or the flight departure was delayed. Practice with me. I packed my luggage last night. Where is gate number 5? We went through customs quickly. These are practical travel sentences that you can imagine using anytime you fly. Now combine several areas into one story. For example, I read an article in the magazine about travel, so I packed my luggage. went to the airport, and showed my passport at security. Another, I wanted to bake a cake, but I realized I had no flour, so I went to the market to withdraw money and buy some. Another, the journalist wrote a story about peace, saying that justice and freedom are necessary for a happy society. Practice aloud now. It is possible to succeed if you are capable and hardworking. I was able to withdraw money from the account to pay the debt. The bright light in the room made it hard to sleep, so I closed the curtains. These longer practice sentences train you to connect simple vocabulary into fluent English speech. Remember, fluency is like music. Each word is a note. Each sentence is a melody. And when you practice them together, you create the rhythm of natural English conversation. Now, let's talk about feelings about experiences. Words like memory, experience, unforgettable, memorable, forget, and remember. These words help you share your past. For example, I remember my first day of school, or the trip was an unforgettable experience. Practice with me slowly. I have a good memory of my grandmother. It was a memorable party. Don't forget to bring your keys. These short sentences help you describe your personal history in English. Now imagine real conversations. One person asks, "Do you remember me?" You could reply, "Yes, I remember you from school." Or, "How was the concert?" The reply might be, "It was an unforgettable experience." These everyday exchanges give your English natural flow. Let's now focus on the human body and health actions, things we do daily to stay healthy. Words like breathe, stretch, sweat, pulse, checkup, and vaccine. You could say, "It is important to breathe fresh air," or "I stretch every morning," or "I went for a checkup." Practice aloud now. I sweat a lot when I run. The doctor checked my pulse. I got my flu vaccine last week. These sentences connect vocabulary to actions that are part of real life. Now, let's turn to weather again, but with specific conditions. Words like flood, drought, storm, lightning, thunder, and forecast. For example, the heavy rain caused a flood. Or, we haven't had rain in months, it is a drought. Practice slowly. The lightning struck the tree. I heard the thunder in the distance. The forecast predicts rain for tomorrow. These short sentences are useful because weather extremes are common topics. Now, let's create conversations with weather. One person says, "Did you hear the thunder?" The reply, "Yes, the storm is coming closer." Another person might ask, "Is there a flood warning?" The reply, "Yes, be careful near the river." These natural exchanges are easy to practice and appear often in real life. Now, let's explore school again, but focusing on academic success. Words like grade, mark, pass, fail, semester, term, and subject. For example, I got a good grade on the test, or the semester ends next week. Practice with me. I failed the math exam. She passed with flying colors. My favorite subject is history. These sentences bring school life into your fluency practice. Now, imagine a classroom conversation. The teacher asks, "What grade did you get?" A student replies, "I got an A." Another might say, "I am worried about the end of the term." Practicing dialogues like this helps you answer naturally in real-life situations. Let's now talk about feelings of certainty and uncertainty. Words like sure, certain, definite, maybe, perhaps, probably, and doubtful. You could say, I am sure I left it here, or maybe we should go home, or it is probable that it will rain. Practice aloud. I am certain about the answer. Perhaps he is busy right now. It is doubtful that we will win. These happy words give you fluency for expressing probability and doubt. Now, let's connect multiple areas into longer stories. For example, I was certain I packed my passport, but when I arrived at the security gate, I realized I had forgotten it, which was a stressful experience. Or, the forecast predicted a storm, but we decided to go anyway, and although we got wet, we had a memorable time. Or, I worked hard all semester, got good grades in every subject, and my parents were very proud of my success. Practice aloud slowly. I remember the unforgettable experience of seeing the ocean for the first time. She stretched before running to check her pulse and stay healthy. The lightning was scary, but the thunder was even louder. Each long practice sentence combines multiple everyday words, which is the true key to fluency. Remember, fluency is not memorizing lists of words. Fluency is living the words through practice, repeating them in sentences, and using them to share your real thoughts and feelings. Let's now talk about feelings regarding advice. Polite expressions that make English sound helpful. Words and phrases like suggest, recommend, advise, warn, and remind. You might say, I recommend this restaurant, or I advise you to be careful. And the reply, thank you for the suggestion. These polite words are the heart of everyday English. Practice with me slowly. Can you recommend a good movie? I suggest you take an umbrella. He warned me about the dog. When you practice these advice exchanges, you build fluency for social life and create confidence in real conversations. Now, let's talk about daily movements again, but add more detail. Words like crawl, jump, hop, skip, climb, and slide. For example, the baby learned to crawl, or she climbed the stairs, or the children like to slide in the park. Practice aloud now. He can jump very high. We skip stones on the water. I slid on the ice and fell. These sentences are everyday actions that keep your English connected to real life. Now, let's practice some longer movements. For example, the cat climbed the tree, jumped to the roof, and then crawled under the house. Another, we watched the children hop, skip, and jump in the playground. These practice sentences take many words we learned and combine them naturally. Now let's focus on feelings with work and pressure. Words like stress, pressure, deadline, tired, exhausted, burnout, and relax. You could say, I feel a lot of pressure at work, or she was exhausted after the long shift. Practice with me. I need to relax this weekend. Don't let the stress get to you. He suffered from burnout last year. These emotional words make your English personal and real, which is key to advanced fluency. Now, imagine a small conversation. One person says, "How do you feel?" The reply, I am tired because of the deadline. Or, are you stressed? The reply, yes, but I will try to relax. These short dialogues prepare you for daily social talk. Let's expand into materials and substances again. Words like wood, metal, plastic, glass, rubber, and paper. For example, the table is made of wood, or this bottle is made of plastic. Practice aloud now. The window is made of glass. The floor is covered with rubber. I wrote a letter on paper. Each of these words connects language with physical objects. Now, let's try longer practice sentences that mix everything we've learned. For example, I recommend that you relax to avoid burnout, because the pressure of the deadline can cause stress. Another, the wooden table broke, so I used some metal glue to fix it, hoping it would hold. Another, although the forecast warned of a storm, we crawled out of the tent and saw the lightning, which was an unforgettable memory. Practice aloud with me. I am certain I can pass the exam if I study every subject. She advised me to withdraw money from the account before the bank closed. The loud thunder made the baby jump, but he fell asleep again. Each long practice sentence combines multiple everyday words, which is the true key to fluency. Remember, fluency comes when you practice both short sentences and longer ones. Short ones build speed and rhythm. Long ones build structure and confidence. Together, they move you closer to thinking and speaking naturally in English. Let's now look at vocabulary for making decisions. Words like choose, decide, plan, hesitate, option, and choice. For example, it was a difficult choice to make, or she decided to plan a trip. Practice with me slowly. I chose the red car. He hesitated before answering. We have many options for dinner. These sentences are useful because decision-making is a constant part of life. Now, let's talk about the senses again, but with adverbs. Words like loudly, softly, brightly, clearly, quickly, and slowly. You might say, he speaks loudly, or she smiled brightly, or the sun shone clearly. Practice aloud now. Please speak more clearly. I walked slowly because I was tired. The music played softly in the background. These words add detail and emotion to your stories. Now, let's turn to jobs and work roles again. Words like manager, assistant, supervisor, clerk, intern, and CEO. You could say, my supervisor asked for a report, or the assistant helped me with the files. Practice with me. The CEO visited the office today. She is working as an intern this summer. The clerk at the desk was helpful. These sentences are useful because people often talk about their roles and the roles of others. Let's also practice safety vocabulary because it is very important. Words like dangerous, safe, careful, caution, risk, and protect. You could say, it is dangerous to swim here, or we should protect the environment. Practice aloud now. Be careful when you cross the road. I took a risk and it paid off. The safe is locked. These sentences prepare you for critical, real-life situations. Now, let's connect different areas into longer practice sentences again. For example, the manager advised the assistant to be careful with the dangerous equipment. Another, I hesitated to choose an option, but finally I decided clearly. Another. The supervisor spoke loudly to warn us about the risk. Practice aloud slowly. She chose to relax and listen to soft music to recover from exhaustion. I decided to plan a trip to a safe destination where the weather is bright. He climbed the metal ladder quickly to fix the bright light. These longer sentences build fluency by connecting simple words into complete stories. Remember, fluency comes when you practice both short sentences and longer ones. Short ones build speed and rhythm. Long ones build structure and confidence. Together, they move you closer to thinking and speaking naturally in English. Let's now look at vocabulary for feelings about time and age. Polite expressions that make English sound respectful. Words and phrases like young, old, teenager, adult, elderly, and middle-aged. You might say, he is still a teenager, or she is an elderly woman. And the reply, he looks young for his age. These polite words are the heart of everyday English. Practice with me slowly. My brother is a middle-aged man. She is an adult with a good job. The elderly man needs help. When you practice these descriptions, you build fluency for social life and create confidence in real conversations. Now, let's talk about shapes and sizes. Words like big, small, huge, tiny, square, circle, and round. For example, the house is huge, or the table is round, or she has tiny hands. Practice aloud now. The box is square. The elephant is a huge animal. I live in a small town. These sentences are everyday descriptions that keep your English connected to real life. Now, let's practice some longer descriptions. For example, the huge, round clock on the wall is a tiny bit slow. Another, the small, square box was perfect for the tiny gift. These practice sentences take many words we learned and combine them naturally. Now let's focus on feelings about quality. Words like excellent, terrible, awful, fantastic, horrible, and wonderful. You could say, the movie was fantastic, or the food was terrible. Practice with me. We had a wonderful time. The smell was horrible. It was an excellent performance. These emotional words make your English expressive and engaging, which is key to advanced fluency. Now, imagine a small conversation. One person says, "How was the show?" The reply, "It was wonderful." Or, "How is the car?" The reply, "It runs terribly." These short dialogues prepare you for daily social talk. Let's expand into household items again. Words like towel, soap, shampoo, toothbrush, and comb. For example, I used a towel to dry my hair. Or, I bought a new toothbrush. Practice aloud now. The soap smells like flowers. I need shampoo for my hair. She combs her hair every morning. Each of these words connects language with daily routines. Now, let's try longer practice sentences that mix everything we've learned. For example, the elderly woman had a terrible toothache, so she went to the dentist to fix it. Another, I chose the huge, round pizza because it looked fantastic. Another, the manager said the quality was excellent, but the clerk made a terrible mistake. Practice aloud with me. The teenager was excited to see the fantastic concert. We had a wonderful dinner at a small, round table. The awful smell came from the tiny, dead mouse. Each long practice sentence combines multiple everyday words, which is the true key to fluency. Remember, fluency comes when you practice both short sentences and longer ones. Short ones build speed and rhythm. Long ones build structure and confidence. Together, they move you closer to thinking and speaking naturally in English. Finally, let's practice some motivational sentences with the new vocabulary we've built. Repeat after me slowly. I am capable of reaching my goals if I work hard. I will never forget this memorable experience. I choose to be positive and grateful every day. Now, let's try combining confidence with real life. I was doubtful, but now I am certain of my success. I will recommend this method to my friends because it is excellent. I will advise you to practice every day to improve. These sentences not only teach words, but also give you energy to keep learning. Remember, every single word we practiced in this masterclass is a step toward advanced fluency. We moved from personality to work, from travel to food, from health to emotions, from technology to nature. Step by step, you have practiced 600 power words in sentences, conversations, and stories. And now you can feel proud because you didn't just memorize words. You learned how to live with them in English. So keep repeating, keep practicing, and keep speaking out loud every day. Because fluency comes from practice. Practice builds confidence. And with confidence, you can reach the advanced English level you dream of. Thank you so much for joining me in today's masterclass. You've just learned and practiced 600 power English words, and that's an incredible achievement. Remember, fluency doesn't come in one day. It grows every time you practice, repeat, and use the words in your real life. If you enjoyed this lesson and you want more, make sure to subscribe, press the bell icon so you never miss our new lessons. And don't forget to like this video and share it with friends who are also learning English. Keep practicing every day. Even 10 minutes of speaking out loud, repeating sentences, or shadowing what you hear will bring you closer to the advanced level. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. I'll be here with you in every new lesson to guide you step by step. So stay motivated, stay confident, and keep speaking English every single day. Until next time, wishing you success and fluency.